like to call the meeting to order. Will everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I still keep hearing from people that I can't be heard well, so I will take my mask off when I speak. I think everybody's far enough away that it's safe. I want to welcome everybody tonight. It's nice to see that there's a good crowd here. We appreciate your being here and your support for the district. I'd like to start with introductions. Dr. Gilman.
Randy Gilman, Assistant Superintendent, Elementary.
Tammy Cardona, Assistant Superintendent, Secondary.
Jim Shalou, Director.
Crystal Hargis, Director.
Bob Grinwald, Director.
Judy Turney, Board Secretary.
John Stewart, Chief Financial Officer.
Declan Fitzpatrick, Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction.
Kelly Brock, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources.
Carol Yount, Director.
Michelle Chamberlain, Director.
Judy Smith, Vice President.
Nisha Patel, Superintendent.
And I'm Vicki Hansen, Board President. The first item on the agenda is 2.3, approval of meeting minutes from January 12th and January 21. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion, Yount.
Second, Chamberlain.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is approval of tonight's agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
Second, Smith.
All in favor? Yes. All right. Next item on the agenda is 3.1, Dr. Patel, Superintendent comments.
Thank you. As President Hansen said, thank you to everybody for coming out here today, especially on this lovely warm day tonight. I was walking in here and I'm like, wow, it got a little pretty chilly today, so I appreciate you guys being here. As always, you know, in the superintendent comments this year, I've been trying to give you a little bit of data just to show you where we're at. I only have 2 slides today that we're going to go over really quickly. The first one is our district data. As you know, starting January 19th, we brought our kids back 4 days for in-person learning K through 12, with Wednesdays still being our virtual day. As of today, this is our current case count. We have 14 positive students in the district, and we have 8 positive staff members, 460 kiddos in quarantine, and 23 staff members in quarantine. The thing I do want to talk a little bit about the quarantine number. I know I'm getting quite a few emails from parents that are frustrated about the quarantine guidelines. As you know, Governor Parsons has quarantine guidelines, CDC has quarantine guidelines, Jefferson County Health Department has quarantine guidelines. What we have tried to do is be consistent with Jefferson County Health Department from day one. And so that does mean that students are being quarantined, and we knew that, right? We knew that when we would bring kids back in and classes are fuller, our quarantine numbers will go up. But just like everything else, best practice, right? When we know better, we do better. So even today, we met with our director of nursing to say, what can we do about the quarantine numbers? And so we sat down, we kind of brainstormed a few things. I'm going to be reaching out with our Jefferson County Health Department to see if we can stay aligned on it. And so we're going to try and see if we can continue to do the strong contact tracing that we have been, but at the same time, minimize the amount of time that kids are out of the school. So we're going to continue to have those conversations, and hopefully we can do something about the quarantine, the number of days that our students are out. And the reason we can look at that is because the data is consistently showing still that transmission is not occurring in our schools. And we've been able to show that now for 2 straight weeks. So that is something I did want to address with our parents so that you know that our priority is to keep our kids in school, including the quarantine days. And so I'll keep updating the community more on that as we decide on how we're going to proceed with that. So that's the district data. And then the next slide is the community trend data. And I know I apologize, it may be difficult to see, but if you look at the very top 2 dates, the October timeline is when we were in orange, and then after that we've been in red. But the good news is, as you can see, the last 2 weeks, and again, remember January 19th was when we came back 4 days. In the community, our positivity rate has gone from 17.89 to 14.53. Our 7-day rolling average has gone from 51.62 to 36.06. Once we hit anything below 25, we're in the orange level for the 7-day rolling average. So as a community, we're doing really well. And so we're hoping the trend line continues this way. I did speak to Jefferson County Health Department, and they're very optimistic as well. They're hopeful with the vaccines. I know the rollout is not at the pace that we would like it, but they're hopeful that it could accelerate in the next few weeks. I know that they had about 250 vaccines that they worked with ComTree to get the Jefferson County Health Department, and I believe next week or in 2 weeks they're going to be getting 500 more. However, when you think about that, in the population of this county, that's not even nearly where we need to be. So hopefully we can accelerate that. So that's just some data that I wanted to share with you and let you know that kiddos are doing well, our staff's doing well, and I know that we're going to have road bumps along the way, as we've said, with our kids coming in, but we'll be sure to go over those and hopefully keep our kids and our staff safe. A couple of other things I want to touch base on. National School Counselors Week started this week, so I want to give a big shout out to all our counselors who work diligently and take care of our kids every single day, especially this year. With the COVID pandemic and the social-emotional needs, our counselors have been working tirelessly trying to make those connections, even on the virtual world. You know, they'll try and Zoom with the kids and check in on them. So huge, huge kudos to our counselors, especially this week when we highlight them. Another highlight is our Early Childhood Center was just named State School of Character. And they're going to be applying for a national. And our Early Childhood Center is a huge point of pride for our district. And my hope, and I am very optimistic, that they will be National School of Character. And that those results come out in May, so we'll know more then. But again, and even when we got the announcement, they even said in a year like this, to be named a State School of Character is outstanding. So kudos to them for all the work they put into it, just even the application process. And then finally, you know, one of the things we highlight is sharing stories of our amazing staff, students, and parents. So our podcast that we started, Fox C-6 Strong Voices podcast, is back on the air, and every other Monday we release it, so you can find it on our website where we highlight a lot of our outstanding people that make up this family. And that's all I've got today. Thank you.
Okay, cabinet member reports?
Dr. Patel, were you going to make an announcement?
Actually, President Hansen.
Perfect. Okay, just double checking. Just to elaborate a little bit on what Dr. Patel said about National School Counseling Week. The counselors in an elementary school are a critical part of the admin team, and often their roles cross with those of the principal and assistant principal when it comes to taking care of students and parents. They lead the majority of our student success teams, which handle our systemic interventions. Counselors often organize and facilitate student leadership groups like character teams or student councils, and they are building test coordinators for our state assessments. They partner with our building nurses and admins on our child find and 504 processes. Ultimately, in this year, you know, they act as social workers. They're doing home visits. Counselors are an important resource for both teachers and parents, and of course, they're an amazing source of support for our students. I just want to really thank our counselors for the dedication that they show to our school communities. Congratulations to Early Childhood and Dr. Townsley and his staff. And I just wanted to really thank all of our staff and our parents for their patience and understanding as we transitioned to 4 days of in-person learning, and that went about as smooth as could be expected. And that's all I have.
So I too want to reiterate, thank you to all of our counselors. You know, at the secondary level, a lot of times we think of counselors as the crew that does the schedules and things like that, but they really have gone above and beyond to make sure that what we're doing for kids, meeting kids where they're at, and I just want them to know that I appreciate them and the work that they've done. I am proud tonight to say that as a Fox district, it is always nice when we have things that we work together in the community with. And a while back, Jamie Cavato talked a little bit about our homeless students. And so Kiwanis, the Arnold Kiwanis has gotten together, and they actually have put together 262 baskets that we are going to actually give to every one of our McKinney-Vento kiddos. I believe we currently have 257 or so. So those baskets have been put together, the laundry baskets, they're full of hygiene items. And so we're going to be bringing them here to the service center. Next Friday, we're calling them Love Baskets. And then we have set up a schedule where each one of our families will be able to come in and pick those up. And so that's just a great community partnership that helps support our kids. And especially in a year like this. So thank you to the Arnold Kiwanis for that. And then right along with those same lines, the Homeless Youth Initiative is a group that helps with students just in Jefferson County, and they help those unaccompanied homeless teens, and they work with our area high schools, all our public high schools. Their primary goal is to assist youth to become self-sufficient by providing them with the tools and resources that they need to be successful. Some of the things that they do is they provide personal care items, they provide for emergency supply of food, supplying holiday gifts at Christmas, and mentoring to assist with transitioning to college. They help with applying for scholarships. And so their group is all volunteer. There is no paid staff, and so they just work on people giving to them to help our area schools. It comes right back to our students. So another great community partner. And so I think, especially in a year like this, I want to give thanks to both of those groups for all they do to help us support our kids.
I just want to congratulate Dr. Patel on being selected to serve on the DESI committee with the Commissioner of Education. That's a very high honor, and I'm sure you're going to represent the state very well on that committee.
I just want to thank all the employees for all their hard work every month. I think I say the same thing, but we truly appreciate everything that you're doing for our students.
So I want to take a moment to share a little bit of news that we received yesterday. So as in the month of December, the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act was passed, and it allocated a lot of money out to the states. And earlier here this month, we learned what the allocation was to the state of Missouri, but they didn't have it broken down by district. Yesterday, we received notice of what our allocation was going to be. These are called SR2 funds, and our district has been allocated $4,024,919, and that's potential big help for the district. These funds are there are certain activities that you're allowed to use them towards, coordination and preparedness and response efforts to COVID-19. I'm just going to read a few of them. There's a big list, but providing principals and other school leaders with resources to address individual school needs. By the way, any activity authorized by ESEA, IDEA, AEFLA, Perkins, or McKinney-Vento is in there as well. Education technology, supplies to sanitize and clean the LEA facilities, and facility repairs and improvements, inspection, testing, maintenance, repair, replacement, and upgrade projects to improve indoor air quality in school facilities. So there's a great opportunity to be able to augment our budget. This will not solve all of our budget issues that we have, because these funds have to be spent towards COVID-related items. So I just wanted to share that bit of good news.
I just wanted to add to the accolades for our counselors. If you could see how our counselors are going through the scheduling and course assignment process. They're inviting students to find out about courses virtually. They're producing videos. They're doing all the things they normally do, but putting in the extra prep time and working with the teachers to produce the videos to recruit kids for the different classes and to make sure that kids understand what they're signing up for. It's really been an extraordinary effort. Thank you.
Mine is the same as everyone else's this evening. I'd like to thank all the counselors for all of their hard work, especially this year. Like I think Tammy said, they're just going so much above and beyond and redoing schedules and redoing schedules and redoing schedules again every single time. You know, we've had all kids virtual, half in, half out, all of our different combinations, and it's just been kind of never ending for our counselors. And so we just wanted to thank you.
I'd like to elaborate just a little bit on Dr. Cadona's response about Arnold Kiwanis and what they have done for our homeless people. Patty Bone, who is a retired teacher, is our president this year, and she actually took care of this whole project and did a lot of work to make sure that everything was put together. Some of you might remember her as Patty Peck, and I think the Media Center was named for her father. So I just want to say thanks a lot to Patty. She put in a lot of effort and worked very hard with Dr. Cardona and Dr. Cavato to put this together. So thanks, Patty.
Don't really have anything to say.
I'd just like to say thank you to the teachers and all the staff, principals, bus drivers, everybody, because my daughter teaches third grade, and she said, you know, the kids came back and they need love. And she said, we're doing a little bit of academics and a lot of self-care within our groups. And she said, it's going to take a while. The kids think they're way behind. They think they're not going to make it. And she said, you know, it's time to show them that we love them, that we care about them. And I just so appreciate all the teachers who are really putting their all. It's giving up their own time, their personal time, to deal with some of the issues, but they are really doing a great job of really reassuring the students that we're going to make it.
Okay, it's my turn. I just wanted to thank everyone, and I know that one of the things on the agenda is the superintendent search, and typically part of that search is you're always asked what's the strength of your district, and I think our strength is our staff and our community and our parents. I'll tell you, we have some of the most hardworking people here, and our community always steps up when we need them. And unlike a lot of people here, I didn't start out here at Fox. I'm a latecomer. I didn't get here till 1987. So I have worked other places, and that's not been my experience in the other places that I work. So I just want to thank everybody for that. And then I do have an announcement. In closed session, we voted, and the new principal for Lonedale Elementary is Mr. Ray. So congratulations to you, sir. Stand up so everybody can see you. And I know there's Lonedale staff here. Welcome aboard. And that's all I have. Moving on.
Ms. Hanson, I think Mr. Ray wanted to say a few words.
Oh, you're going to put him on the spot. Okay, come on.
Did you? Because, yes, you can. Thank you.
We're excited to have you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is 4.2, Superintendent Search. Oh, patron comments. I'm sorry, I missed that completely. Thank you for keeping me in line.
Yes, we have one comment this evening. Chris Kaisker, as you make your way up, I want to remind you that you have that problems involving a particular employee and or students are reserved for executive session. You'll have 3 minutes, and the vice president will keep track, and then we'll give you a warning after 2.5 minutes. And congratulations, Mr. Ray.
My name is Chris Kaisker. I'm completing my 28th year in the district, all of them at Merrimack Heights Elementary. My husband and I also have 2 boys at Fox High School, so I'll be leaving immediately afterwards to catch the tail end of the varsity basketball game. I stand before you as a parent, staff member, and community member. I have some concerns about the future of this district and wish to speak about why we, as a district, need to continue the progress of the last 5 years. The job of a school board is to govern. The job of a superintendent is to run the daily operations of the district. Recently, Dr. Patel announced she will be leaving the Fox School District. We're in this predicament once again because our last 2 superintendents haven't been allowed to run the daily operations of this district. Decisions have been overturned and/or not allowed. We heard that very clearly when the outgoing board members apologized to Dr. Patel last February for not supporting her vision and the drive for improvements in the Fox School District. This was also the same meeting it was announced Dr. Patel's contract was not extended. Our district is losing yet again another incredible superintendent to an amazing district. Just last week, the Post-Dispatch highlighted Ladue and Clayton as being included in the top 100 best high schools in America. How interesting it is for them to recognize the leadership of both Dr. Whipke and Dr. Patel. Yet we could not find a way to support and retain them in our district. With that being said, it is my belief that had she been supported by the board, she would have continued on as our superintendent. Our staff and our community have supported her. Our students love seeing her in their buildings. We've seen the progress made in the last 5 years. I don't blame her for leaving. She's unable to make decisions that are best for children. An example of strong leadership over the last 5 years has been the implementation of incredible professional development training and professional learning communities. 18 years ago, I was the head of the Fox School District's Professional Development Committee. We had applied for an award from the state, and people were sent in to conduct interviews with myself and the current administrator that oversaw the committee. I was specifically asked about professional learning communities, PLCs, and how our district implemented them. I had heard of this acronym, but it had not been implemented district-wide at that time. So we were already behind what was common practice in many school districts, yet it took another 14 years for the Fox School District to implement this best practice. Professional development is so important for teachers to progress and enhance instructional practices.
30 seconds.
Over the last 5 years, the options have been endless for our teachers to attend professional development training with our district. In fact, other districts were on waiting lists to attend the workshops and training our district was hosting. Especially great was that it was Fox staff being recognized as excelling at their craft and pushing their knowledge out to other educators. Again, this was spearheaded by the leadership of the last 5 years. As a community, this is my community call to action. These next few months will include naming a new superintendent and the election of 2 board members.
Time.
These results, thank you.
Okay, again, I apologize. I flipped 2 pages on the agenda, so I went ahead. The next item is 4.1 Prop P Projects Update. Mr. Stewart.
So a brief update on the ongoing 2 current projects we have going on with Prop P that are underway with Antonia Elementary and Merrimack Heights. BRS members have been continuing to meet with myself and Scott Barbagallo and other district staff to review the design progress for both Antonia Elementary and Merrimack Heights Elementary. They are continuing meetings with permitting authorities in order to review the project design and schedule. Specifically for Antonia Elementary, bids were received for the summer renovation package on January 28th. This includes HVAC and lighting upgrades in portions of the existing building. The project is under budget, and we plan to have a recommendation for the February 16th board meeting. The construction documents phase of the design of the new addition has begun. BRS is continuing to review progress and receive input from the district administration and the school principals. Regarding Merrimack Heights Elementary, the construction documents phase of this design, or of the design, is proceeding. BRS is continuing to review the progress and receive input from district administration and school principals. And the capital improvements for last summer of 2020, we've received the final billings from applications from all the contractors, along with the as-built drawings, operation and maintenance manuals, and warranties.
All right, thank you. Next item is 4.2 Superintendent Search. And basically, an RFP was completed to select a superintendent search firm, And it was sent out to 8 firms, and there were 4 submitted. And of those, we have 2 firms that will be presenting tonight. The first is EGL.
I always have to move these mics down to my size. I want to thank the board for this opportunity to provide the proposal tonight from EGL. I really want to draw your focus to one of our primary goals, which is that first bullet up there. And I think it speaks to a little bit of what we heard from patron comments tonight. Our goal as a firm, one of our biggest focuses is building stable and long-term partnerships between the board and the next superintendent. And that is something that has been from the inception of EGL, one of our primary focus. The other goals really have to do with how we do that. So we do have extensive relationships. We are networked across the entire state. We have several recently former superintendents, as well as at least one active superintendent that works with us. They have extensive networks, and that helps support us in that primary goal. We also believe very strongly in working with boards and superintendents to provide ongoing support, especially regarding the relationship between the two. And then lastly, we do have a wealth of knowledge in regards to state law and legal requirements. We have an attorney on our firm who makes sure we dot our I's and cross our T's and ensure that your process would be fair and legal moving forward. As with any superintendent search, there seems to be a theme in the steps. These are 4 general steps, and I'm going to go into each one of them individually. But typically, when you run a search, you are trying to determine what the priorities are in regards to that profile of your candidate. And so we would work with you to do that. We would also coordinate all aspects of the search and recruitment process, assist you in your final selection and in developing that contract with your new soup. And then again, because our primary focus is ensuring a long-term and stable relationship, we feel very strongly about our final step, and that is that we're not done when your hire is complete. So again, I'm going to talk you through those 4 kind of big ideas. The first thing that we need to do is to develop that profile of a leader. What are the priorities of this community, of the board, in regards to the characteristics and the aspects that that new leader needs to have? Our first line of business would actually be to work with the board on defining the requirements for your new position so that we can get it posted as quickly as possible. I know Mr. Shalhoub made a comment at the last meeting regarding the timeline and wanting to make sure that we get the best candidates in our pool, and so we do need to first define what those requirements. So those would be things like, are you requiring residency? Are you requiring X amount of experience, or something in regards to education? At that point, we really would spend our time working on seeking input into what the characteristics of your next superintendent would be. We believe individual interviews with board members provide us the most information, and so we would be wanting to talk with each of you individually to identify what those characteristics are. But then, of course, being transparent, we would present, this is what we were told in the individual interviews with the board members. We also would analyze, I can tell that this is a very data-driven district, we would analyze your data and really look at strengths and weaknesses of your district in order for that to as well be considered when you're looking at your next candidate. I know the board is extremely interested in engaging a wide variety of stakeholders. We believe in customizing that very much for what the district desires. We would propose initially an electronic survey. We find that we can get a lot of participation electronically from community members, and we've learned some tricks of the trade in order to increase participation on that survey. We would run some focus groups, could be groups identified by the board, as well as, if there is interest of the board, and this is the customizable part, seeking out meetings with the larger community. So oftentimes boards will just want to hear via survey, especially if we can have some open-ended questions, but we would make ourselves available to hold a larger meeting of a bigger group of stakeholders. And then we would put all that together to develop what attributes are the priorities of your next superintendent. And that really would drive your selection moving forward. So we would seek that input And we know what effective leaders look like, but we find when we get that input, it becomes more clear what an effective leader in the Fox School District is going to look like. The next step is really coordinating the aspects of the search and the recruiting process. I'm not going to read to you all of the steps there, but we have representation from across the state on our team. So with us, you're not just getting, I'm Mary Hendricks Harris, by the way, Mary Hendricks Harris and Dr. Hinson, you're getting a team of people who have networks across the state. So we have large district folks on our teams from the metropolitan areas in Kansas City, Springfield, and then we have rural representation on our team as well. So you're getting a team of people that can support recruiting among candidates. We would complete the reference checks, backgrounds. We would make sure that you have legally vetted questions. We would start with some that we would recommend. And again, we would want you to customize. Given the current profile, what specific questions do we need to dig deeper into each candidate and how they fit that profile, as well as any specific questions the board would want to include in the interviews. We would provide a suggested rating scale as well. And in regards to recruitment, our advertisements would be the State Superintendent Association, as well as the National Superintendent Association, our website, your website, mailings to superintendents. And then something that's unique about us is that we do have representation at every MASA, which is the superintendent regional group. So we have face-to-face opportunities to talk with superintendents, as well as people to put a bug in their ear about people they may know that would be a good candidate for our search. The next step is really assisting you in your final selection. We would support you in developing the contract terms, dealing with details. Sometimes releasing somebody from a contract or their previous position is something we could work with you on. We would serve as your support in negotiations, finalizing the contract, and working with your internal team, I'm assuming it would be Dr. Brock, in making the appropriate announcements, timing, and when the board would like to do that. As I said at the beginning, one of our passions is that long-term relationship. So something else that stands out for us as a group is the ability to not just hire and be gone. We would support the board and the new superintendent in writing two plans. One is the transition in plan, and that would be in conjunction with Dr. Patel. So in the next few months between now and July 1, what would those transition activities be that would best start the superintendent off on a good foot here in the Fox School District? We would also support in writing the entry plan. So after July 1, what are the steps that need to be completed to ensure that we get off to a good start? We would like to facilitate a training or a work session with the board regarding how the board and the superintendent are going to work together. What are some agreements we can have in regards to that partnership going into the new partnership? We have a superintendent evaluation process and document that is very simplified, very objective, that we would talk you through, see if it's something that you want to use. And then we would be working with the superintendent in regards to the profile and their transition in, and making sure that they are coached and aware of areas that they might need growth and support. Again, just want to emphasize that our biggest goal is building that stable long-term partnership. That is something that our group feels very passionately about. You can see it on our website. It's not something unique to our Fox proposal. That is our passion. And then I know this is the bad part, is talking about the fee structure. Our fee structure is 7% of the current superintendent's base salary, and that is all inclusive. So there would not be any additional travel or expenses added into that 7%.
Okay, does anybody have any questions before we go on to the next presentation? Thank you very much. The next firm is MSBA. And is it Dr. Brotherton? And I'm sorry, I was afraid of messing up your names. It's Dr. Hendricks Harris, correct? Okay.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Steve Brotherton. Thank you for giving me time to speak to you on behalf of the MSBA group that does superintendent searches. If you would select MSBA, I would be the one conducting the superintendent search. I'd be your lead consultant. Just a little bit about me. I retired 3 years ago. I was the superintendent in the Afton School District. So I have 34 years in education, 7 years as superintendent, and the last 3 years as I've been retired. I've been doing some consulting work with Washington University and their Transformational Leadership Institute, working with mostly high poverty districts. And then I've been doing the work with school boards, doing superintendent searches, working with school boards and their communities. So, you know, I did a little research on you, and one of the things that I heard consistently, one of the best things about Fox is its people, and sitting back today and listening, that was confirmed. So I've heard that from people high up in your district and then people throughout the meeting today. So you should be very proud of that. So my goal is for you guys to find the best superintendent to support your focus, which is your children, your community, and your tomorrow. So just so you know, I said I did a little background information on you. I listened to your January 21st board meeting, and it was apparent to me that you all really are very passionate about seeking input from the community. So I want to make sure that if you choose MSBA, that we provide opportunities for community input. And I know probably looking for a new superintendent isn't maybe a space that you want to be in right now, but just kind of give you my Pollyanna thing on things. There's always opportunities when you have a little bit of adversity. So I hope we can go through this opportunity and create impact for your school district. So tonight, here's what I wanted to do. I want to go over 3 things. The overview of our process. We're asked to cover costs and then take some time if you have any questions. So I have a 6-step process, and I did that on purpose because you guys were Fox C-6, right? So I had to have one for each of the Fox C-6s. Actually, as we were filling out the RFP, to be serious, it is a pretty tight timeline. It's an aggressive timeline. It's doable, but it's something that we need to get started with. Probably we'd want to start posting by tomorrow. We'd want to be working with you to get actually firm dates on calendar and let you know that they're going to be, as we go through these steps, some of these steps are going to be happening simultaneously. So let me start with the first one. And you're going to hear some overlap from what Mary talked about, and that's to be expected, is us developing a profile and finding the right person for your district. So what type of leader would be the next leader in Fox? Are we looking for somebody that's a visionary leader, a great instructional leader, an innovator, a manager? And you probably want something that's a little bit of all of that. But we want to find out really what are you as a board and what is the community thinking, and how do we gain some data about what you're thinking and what type of leader you're looking for. So as you can see on the board, on the PowerPoint, there'll be some board work and a board survey, a community survey that can survey parents, stakeholders, teachers, staff. MSBA has done the last 2 searches for the Fox District, and was come to find out that you guys had one of the highest rates of return in their survey work on the last superintendent search. So it's something that your community responds to, and it's something that I think would really do us well as we start to collect data looking at what type of leader would serve Fox the best. And then there's also an opportunity for community focus groups. And I can customize those for you, have as few or as many or as large or as small or as Zoomed or small in person, whatever we can do to make that physically safe. So I need to get input from you all and some direction from you of how you would like that to proceed. And then I would take all that information, looking for things that align. Are there overlaps in what's happening, what the board's saying, what's happening, what the teachers are saying, what your community groups are saying, what are the surveys telling us, what are the focus groups telling us? Bring that information back to you all as developing a profile of the next superintendent, and see if you agree with that and see if that's an alignment with what you're thinking. Again, I said there's going to be some things happening at the same time. We're going to be recruiting right away. Right at the same time, we're going to need to be recruiting, and I just wanted to give you some idea of where we put information out to folks that might be interested in applying for the position. The MSBA website is one place that we use, and then we also are connected with the National Association of School Superintendents. We can use their websites, And there are 40 state affiliate websites that we connect with as being a part of the Missouri School Boards Association. We would like to put an ad in Education Week. If you select us, actually the deadline to get that ad submitted is Friday. So we would work to get that ad submitted, to get it into a national publication. We do direct mailings, brochure sent out to 900 folks, and email sent out to over 2,400. And people on that group are like superintendents, assistant superintendents, principals, professionals, people that work in higher ed, people that are actually thinking about moving into the superintendency or maybe thinking about making a transfer to a bigger district, or folks that know people that say, hey, I think this might be a good fit for you. And the next step we want to do is do an evaluation of those that are applying, and that fit is an important thing. I'll take the information that we gained in the profile, the things that your community and you told us were important, and try to take those applications and see if there's a connection and alignment between what I'm seeing in the application and what the community is saying they want to see. So it says paper screenings. Really, they fill that out electronically. I put paper screenings because I like to print it out, highlight, and like take notes on applications. But the things that we'll want to do is make sure that people have proper qualifications when I'm looking at the paper screening, making sure that their educational story makes sense. They had a career path that evolved and looks like they've had successes throughout their career. And then also we'll conduct interviews with people. I like to do face-to-face, but known to have to do more Zoom and more phone over the last year. And then those reference checks are important. I have a network of folks that do superintendent searches throughout the state of Missouri for Missouri School Board. So those are people that are readily available to me if I want to call them and find out some information about those applicants. So try to find out the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I try to find out the best fit for the school district, and then bringing back that total list back to you. Everybody that will apply, I will bring that list back to you all and tell you what I found out. I'll give you my recommendations of, I usually do a green, yellow, red kind of thing, but really it's your hire. It's one of the most important things that you'll do, but I'll give you that information, and then we'll decide together who we move forward to the next step, which is the interview process. You guys will be the ones that are conducting the interview, and I'll be the ones that trying to help you with that. I'll make sure that we do everything that's legal, that we're not asking anything that we're not supposed to. I'll make sure that we have a wide variety of questions covering vision, mission, instruction, operations, relationships. Plus, I'll seek input from you all on developing questions that you might want to ask as well. And then I will also design like a matrix for you to score, so when we interview folks, we can have some good discussion based on information that you've gathered through the interview process, and then decide how we want to move forward. Usually it's going to take more than one round of interviews. It may not, so we could decide, hey, we had a great interview, we all just come together and decide we want to move this person forward and make a recommendation, or we want to move the smaller group forward and take another step and do another set of interviews until we're ready to make that recommendation. When you're ready to do that, then we're at the appointment stage, and that's really the responsibility of the board. I'm happy to consult with you. You'll have my information on reference checks and that, but most of the school districts, especially in the St. Louis area, you'll be working with your school attorney to develop contracts, those kinds of things. And then finally, I put up support because MSBA is an organization that you're probably used to working with. We probably do your board policies. I know we do report policies because I looked on your webpage. Board trainings. You probably have attended some MSBA conferences. If you've looked on the webpage, there's a lot of professional development opportunities. And I just highlighted this one because this is included in the cost of the search fee. Effective practices for positive board and superintendent relationships. So if you choose MSBA, this is a workshop that we can do for you. We can follow up in a lot of different ways as your professional organization. And then just so you know, me personally, I'm really an advocate of public education, and I want all districts to do well. So I will follow up. As a matter of fact, I just I just had a voicemail from the person that I did the superintendent search for in Washington while we were sitting down today. Just, she's transitioning from the Kansas City side, so just trying to be a resource for her as she comes over to the St. Louis side, and I would do the same thing for anybody that we would hire from your district, for your district. So our fees are a little bit different. We usually do an 8% fee, but I think you negotiated with Mike Parnell from Missouri School Board a little bit. And I'm going to call it like the hold harmless fee. It really is we're not going to exceed this amount. So the $13,600 is representing an 8% probably at about $170,000, and then the expenses of $1,700. So we will not exceed that $13,600 for the fee of the superintendent, for the superintendent part, and then depending on how much of the expenses we would use, your total amount cannot exceed $15,300.
I think
Mike Parnell is from the School Board Association. That's his contact information, and that is my contact information.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I
No,
think
no
the
problem.
term that was used was as a repeat client.
Yes.
You got a discount.
Yeah, I had to call him and say, can you explain this to me so I can explain this to them?
No questions? Okay. Can I get a motion from someone? No discussion?
Ms. Hanson, I'm going to make a motion, but I'd like to make a comment first. I want to thank Dr. Brock and Judy Turney for all the work they did to bring all of this information to us. It was short notice, and they went to a lot of work and trouble to make sure that we had all the information we needed to help us make a decision. So thank you, Kelly and Judy. And I'd also like to make a motion that we use EGL Association for our new superintendent search.
There's a motion on the floor to approve EGL for the superintendent search. Can I get a second?
I'll make a second.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Does anybody have any discussion first? I thought we were... Okay. Well, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. EGL. We have some contact information here for you too. The point of contact would be Judy Turney, and we'll be getting with you very shortly. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is contract award for architectural services. Mr. Stewart.
So the district issued an RFQ, request for qualifications for architectural services, in October. We received submissions from 15 firms by the November deadline. All the board members individually evaluated all the submissions according to the guidelines set in board policy. And based on the evaluations, the board invited 4 firms to make a presentation to the board in December. Those firms were William B. Ittner Incorporated, KRJ, Arc Images, and TRI Architects. So after the presentations, the board selected William B. Ittner Incorporated to negotiate fees to provide architectural services. Successful negotiations resulted in fees of either 5.25% or 6% of project costs, depending on the project, and the inclusion of professional assistance on other projects at no charge. And I did miss putting something in there, so those percentage fees will convert to a fixed dollar when the exact scope and costs are understood for various projects. So kind of the best of both worlds there. And it is therefore recommended to approve the contract with William B. Ittner Incorporated for architectural services as presented.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve Ittner for the architect services?
So moved.
I make a motion.
Second, please.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed.
And we have Mr. Young, who's the CEO, President and CEO of Ittner, and he's got a team of folks here, and I believe Mr. Young has a short presentation.
I believe this is going to be the preliminary design presentation for Fox Senior High. Yes, it is. Okay.
John's given me 10, so I let me know when it's at 8. Well, thank you. We're very excited to be here and partner with everybody. You got some exciting opportunities, and have the support of the voters is really outstanding. So we're landing at the right place. For the last several weeks, we've been on site multiple times for different reasons. One, both from an educational standpoint, another one from a space, looking at how things function, and just getting a real sense technically of how that building operates. So the people that are here today are each going to speak, and we're here, if we, let me see here, there we go. What we want to do is present to you some ideas and get your feedback. We're going to cover the following 5 items. We want to stretch your dollars, that's one of our goals. We want to discuss the storm shelter because you have some decisions to make on that. We need to talk about long range, a phased master plan. Where are you going to be headed? Because depending on what we do today with your monies, will it set you up properly for the future or not? Then there's 2 concepts we're going to present. One is called the Center at Fox. It's an exciting concept. It's for students, and it's something I think is going to contribute back to the entire community, the pride that they have in the high school. And the other one is the Fox Plaza. So I'm going to get on with that, and those are the things we're going to cover. So this is the orientation. Everybody knows the campus. Our initial phase is building a facility out front, something that has easy access, easy for taxpayers to see their money being spent, and it is a new hood ornament, if you will, of the district. Well, it's supposed to work. There we go. You do have other phases. You have phase 1, which is towards the back. That'll be part of phase 1 at the front. You have phases 2 and 3, and we're going to talk about all of those and how they come together and blend into a really exciting master plan. So with that, let me start off by orientation. Everybody sees the front door. This is the front door going into that addition with the middle school to the right, the high school to the left, and this will be a new entrance to the middle school. It may look something like this or not, depending on what the wishes of the board are, but it's certainly something that can be seen from the road and be a comfortable introduction to the campus as people from all over the community come to Fox for different events. We have a big grade change from up at the top of the hill to the bottom of the hill. We're going to take advantage of that with the storm shelter. So it's a perfect fit. So with that, let me turn it over to Todd Powers, and he's going to walk us through the plan.
So this is actually the middle level, kind of up the hill. It's basically at the grade, the entry level for the middle school. But the middle school entry's now moved out to the front, and then we have some new science labs and support facilities layered in behind that. Up one level from that is basically an area of art and facts and support spaces stacked on top of that. And as Dennis mentioned, the one piece we're really looking at hard right now is the storm shelter itself. And storm shelters are a little challenging, especially on a big campus. You have a lot of students, you have a lot of square footage. You're building a modest addition, and the code requires that we house the occupants of that new construction. But of course, that's going to fall far short of housing the entire student population. So what we're looking at and what we're going to have to work out together is what are the number of students we're going to try and house. And what we've reflected here is actually a space large enough to house the entire student and staff population at both the high school and middle school in very tight confines. And that's important to understand. There's the code requirement, and then there's always the question of what can you actually fit. And so we're going to have more discussions about that as we go forward. So that's the box that we think, and we've built shelters like this, we build them all the time, that we think you could feasibly put everybody into if you needed to. Next door to it, we have a culinary lab. This is actually an area where you could affiliate with a program like ProStart, and when your students leave the program, they have the credentials to enter into a high-end restaurant kind of environment. And then we also have some supporting space in that area. So obviously, Dennis mentioned this is the center at Fox, and it's really the storm shelter, because if you're going to build a big empty space like this, you don't want it to just sit there. You want to put it to work for you. So it's a true multi-purpose space. And so while we can't fill it full of furniture and things that get in the way of occupancy, what we can do is do some select built-ins, but program the space so you can do things like robotics competitions and all kinds of fun STEM and STEAM related activities. Or you do something that's built in along the edge that doesn't take up any square footage. So all of the furniture and things of that nature can be slid off to the side. You want to jump back in?
And this just shows another example. This happens to be at the Lindbergh School District, where it's a storm shelter of a different type, where a storm shelter is also used for community use. In this case, the fire department, the police, and other civic groups have their own storage area that's lockable. So when they come in for their every Tuesday night event, all their materials are there. But it's also there for the students too. So that's something we want to share with you. It's a bigger storm shelter than what you're required, but if we can make it into another use, that would be outstanding. So the question is, how are we going to pay for it? That's the question. So these are 100, 200, and 300 wings. And what we're suggesting is that rather than moving all of science into the new addition, what we might do is move a portion of science, the ones that really need some upgraded science labs, leave the other portion where they are, renovated, because a lot of the casework is reusable, and that cost difference, use it to create a storm shelter that is available for all students and staff on the site. Don't have to take that approach. That was just an option we wanted to bring with you, so you have that under consideration. We would hate to get downstream and build something and someone says, well, why didn't we plan it differently? And the answer is always we needed more money, but this is a different way of trying to accomplish that. So what happens then, as you roll the film forward, it's possible that the 200 wing could go away. It could be demolished. What that would do is establish a secured outdoor courtyard for the students and community. Many districts are looking for a secured outdoor plaza, and it's really hard to create. You have a natural right here. Now, we would really need to go through a master plan to determine whether that's what you ought to do or not. But let's say if you were going to build something in place of 300 wing, let's say it's a 2-story. So you have something new in front where everybody can see it. You already got phase 1 built, new in front where everybody can see it. So now you got a new high school. It's seen new. In order to build 300, you got to tear it down first. So you're going to have to move into 200. And then once you're done moving into 200 and you move into 300 when it's all built out, then you can tear down 200. So that's an example of a master plan. There's probably other options. We're not married to that, but that's a scenario to look at. So with that, the question is, what is the Fox Plaza? And I thought I would let Julie walk us through that.
So the Fox Plaza is a concept that we're really excited about as Dennis said, a secure outdoor plaza for all students. So there is a connection between that science wing, between the science classrooms if we left them in the 100 wing, directly out to this courtyard. So it could be used as outdoor classroom space for science, space for food, outdoor gardening, space for collaboration, space for community groups, There's illustration, the direct access between the science, potential science wing and straight out to the courtyard. And a space for active learning. So the image here is a sundial, again related to science, but not only that curriculum, space for student clubs, a space for really all students to be able to gather right at the heart of the school.
So the question for the board is, do any of these ideas resonate with you? Is it something that we should pursue, or should we look at some other ideas and pursue? In summary, we're trying to stretch the dollars in a creative way. We're trying to create a storm shelter that provides safety for everybody that's on campus, not just the people that are in the addition. We're trying to be wise as we look into the future and make sure we have a clear path forward. And then we think you have such a unique campus that, you know, the Commons, which we were luckily able to design for you, has received a lot of recognition, but so will the center at Fox, and so will the Fox Plaza, because these are areas that other high schools may not have, and you will have. So it's how you brand it, it's how you program it, it's how well the staff wishes to use it. All we know is we want to be able to provide those spaces so they have all kinds of benefits to the students and to the community, because when they come to Fox, they see the entire school district based on what they experience at the Fox High School. And that's what we want to create.
Speak for the whole board, but I think besides getting input from the board, you need to get input. I know you've met with administration, but I don't know if you've met with staff yet, and so maybe that would be a place to get the input and then bring it back to us again.
We have met with some staff.
Oh, okay.
A department head,
Okay.
assistant superintendent, principal, assistant principal.
Okay.
We've had out on site. And it was really great because, you know, they know how the spaces are used or how they wish to be used. So we're going to have to get in a lot more detail than we have to date, but the reason we're here tonight is we received some positive acknowledgement on that. Because our initial thought was that if you move any part of science, it all has to move. You know, so that silo gets moved from where it is to a new location. What we learned was, no, we don't need to move the entire silo. We can break it apart, and then it's a question of what are your prime spaces in science? Let those go into the new facility. They need more square footage. The plumbing will be easier to do in new construction than it would be in renovation. So that's what led us to coming tonight with some of these ideas.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Dennis and the team? I think it's exciting, but
Congratulations, by the way, on receiving the job.
Yeah, thank you.
And appreciate your insight, and not only about what we're doing here, but looking into the future. You know, Fox campus is a campus that we're probably never going to abandon. It's going to be evolving throughout time, and looking to the future is really, really important on that campus, and appreciate your insights on that. Congratulations again.
Okay, well, thank you.
I think it's very exciting to see the front of the, I like how you took the idea of doing the remodeling in the back and put it in the front so everyone could see it. That's beautiful. And the storm shelter, I don't know about that. Whatever, obviously go with whatever the administrators and the staff want, but I don't know. I don't want it just to be an empty room. I want it to be something that is utilized. And the park, that sounds like an amazing thing. And I'm just super excited for our kids and our staff. And this is exactly the progress that we have all been wanting. And I'm just so tickled, and I just can't wait. Now, if you could put a pool down there, that would be awesome. I just think pools are cool.
It's not on the list, sorry.
Is the storm shelter requirement now for our county that we have to have some type of...
and it's sized for the addition. So
So when you say that, are you saying that the students within that addition have to be able to get into it? So students in the other part of the building can go to the big gym, can go to the, are you saying that?
Yes.
Okay, so the size of the storm shelter just has to encompass the students?
Per the code, per the building code. Now, you can elect to go beyond the building code, and that's what I'm here presenting as an idea. And if the idea makes sense to you, then from a budget standpoint, we'll do what's called reverse engineering. We'll work backwards from that budget and think through the entire design, what can be afforded. Now, we're moving art in, we're moving family and consumer science in. We have a floor plan. It hasn't been vetted with the staff, but we just wanted to see. I'd like to reduce it by about 8 to 10% in size if I could, just from a budget standpoint. But we're halfway through schematics, so we made a lot of good progress, and I want to thank the staff for meeting with us over the holidays. That was very nice of them. And
Well, it is a beautiful addition, and I think it will showcase, and the people in our community will be able to see where the money's going.
Right.
And how usable it is.
Yeah.
Bob had a comment.
Just a question, having been the former principal at Fox Junior High, will those junior high kids have access to the storm shelters?
Yes.
As well?
If you enlarge it, if you
Okay.
just build it per code, I guess it's first come, first serve, but.
Well, I'd hate to see us build a storm shelter and then that's connected to the junior high and then those kids not have access to it. And
Right.
that's where I was coming from with that.
Generally, it's first come, first serve in a storm.
Yeah, well,
The other thing that I'd like to comment is understanding how that front is designed. It solves a problem that we've been looking at with Fox Middle School in terms of the office and the security access. And so with it being brought down front, actually that's a savings in a sense there because that changes all that aspect. And if I recall from your presentation, that one area, that open area where the storm shelter would still be available to the middle school students as well for any kind of activities. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. In our plan, I know it's hard to see, there's so much detail. There's a direct connection between that addition and the middle school. You come right in, there's a secured entry right there, and you walk in, you turn left to go into the middle school itself. You can go downstairs to, the center at Fox, and however that's programmed. We hope you never have to use it as a storm shelter.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for inviting us. We look forward to working with everybody. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 5.2 Summer 2021 projects. Mr. Stewart.
Thank you. So, as the board requested at the January 12th meeting, so there's attached revised and more detailed cost estimates for the projects at the Seckman High School and the Fox Elementary School. And so the Seckman High School project includes a base bid and an alternate bid 1, and then the Fox Elementary has a base bid and 2 alternative bids. So I put a little grid there in your agenda just to kind of summarize it and make it a little easier for picking and choosing and getting to what level of expenditure, if any, that you wanted to arrive at. So you see your options there, and I guess there's probably a couple additional that I didn't think about, but I just leave that to the board for discussion going forward here.
Judy.
I'm going to make a motion that we move forward with Seckman High School's base bid with alternative 1 for $1,613,810. Also, Fox Elementary's base plan only for pod 3 and 4 for $1,806,529 for a total of $3,420,339. And I'm suggesting that we have Itner work on those projects.
Okay, so the motion was options 3 and option 8 on your sheet, which is Seckman Senior High base bid with alternate, Fox Elementary base bid only, for a total of $3,420,339, with Itner doing the projects. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
None? All in favor?
Yes.
Oh, did I not do the motion? I'm sorry.
No, I
Second.
just have, I want to clarify. This is still coming out of the budget for 21, 22. That we
Correct.
have not developed, correct?
Correct.
All right, now, last time we met, you said something about having capital project funds available currently.
Correct.
How much funds do we have?
Our budget for, right off the top of my head, the budget for capital projects for this year, the revenue, I think we ended up with like a ending fund balance projection of around $1 million at this point.
Okay, so we currently have $1 million. All right, and that includes everything that's earmarked, correct?
Correct.
That's what okay, so we're gonna end up with $1 million this year. All right, to carry over into next year's budget.
Correct.
All right. I still have problems with working without a budget in place. I mean, we're working ahead of a budget that we've discussed. I mean, we'll start talking about that in March. It should be developed by June 30th. So we're actually approving money that we have not declared in our budget yet. So that's just my opinion. I have
Okay.
a lot of issues with that.
There's a motion and a second on the floor.
Vicki, could you read the motion again?
Okay, the motion
I'm
was,
not sure if I heard correctly about everything that she wants covered.
the motion was, on your sheet, if you're looking at your sheet
Uh-huh.
in front of you, to approve Seckman Senior High base bid and alternate one, and to approve Fox Elementary base bid only. So those projects, the Seckman Senior High project is the library, math wing, HVAC, and the observatory wing, HVAC and roofing. And that's a total of $1,613,000, well, I'm saying it wrong, $1,613,810. Then Fox Elementary, the base bid is for HVAC and roofing on pods 3 and 4, and that's for $1,806,529. So that's what the motion is for, and it's been made and seconded. Any other clarification needed? Okay, there's a motion. All in favor?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Let me do the call for it. Opposed?
Opposed? No.
Okay, thank you. Is BRS invoice. Mr. Stewart.
So the board has in front of you the revised invoice from BRS for the preliminary planning work that was completed on the property projects other than Antonia Elementary and Merrimack Heights Elementary. They have provided to the district to scale conceptual drawings, planning documents, and meeting documentation that are a result of all this preliminary work. So it is the recommendation to approve the invoice from BRS for payment as presented.
Can I get a motion, please?
So move.
Second.
It was Carol. So the motion was to approve the invoice for BRS in the amount of $70,230.87. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item is approved 3-year contract with Canvas. Dr. Cardona.
Thank you. So attached, you will find the 3-year contract for Canvas, which is an online platform for the amount of $34,820. This cost does include a $5 per student for each year, and also the initial setup and implementation fees. The approval of the Canvas will allow secondary schools to begin to use this virtual platform for credit recovery, for summer school, and for future virtual courses. We're asking for your approval with this contract so that we can move forward with creating additional classes for this upcoming summer school. Of course, the ESSER Act, or the ESSER Act, sorry, the ESSER funds that John spoke of earlier will be used to reimburse the purchase when received.
I make a motion that we go ahead and do that.
Okay.
I'll second then.
Any discussion or questions?
Just one comment on that. You know, most of the, or many of the universities, I don't know if most, use Canvas as their platform for students in their coursework. One of the big advantages of this is our kids will be exposed to that, and so that when they get to the university, that platform will be very familiar to them, and that makes a big difference relative to working through courses. So it's a great idea in my mind.
Very good idea. Anybody else have any questions or comments? See, you made the motion, Judy? Okay, so motion, I need a second.
I seconded it.
All in favor? Yes. Motion passed.
Can I just say thank you for our kids? Like, this makes my heart happy. Thank you.
It's a good program. Okay, the next item is 5.5, approve engagement letter for bond compliance service. Mr. Stewart.
So, as an issuer of municipal securities, otherwise known as bonds, the district is subject to annual continuing disclosure obligations required by the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. We have to disclose this to the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, known as MSRB. So these are very extensive, these obligations are very extensive, and they detail the district's operating and financial data. Historically, our bond counsel, which is currently Gilmore and Bell, assists with the district in completing those requirements, and they submit the information for us. So the attached letter that you have outlines the services that would be provided in the engagement for an annual fee of $1,500, and it may be terminated by either party at any time, just with 30 days written notice. So I would recommend that the board approve the engagement letter with Gilmore and Bell as presented. And I will also let you know that these are, while they're not new requirements, they came around, I think it was about 9 years ago, or it was either 9 years ago or it was 2009 when these requirements for this, for these continuing disclosures started being required of folks that issue bonds.
Can I get a motion, please?
I make a motion.
Hargis. Second? A motion was made to approve the engagement letter for Gilmore and Bell for bond compliance. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passed. The next item is 5.6, approve bid for dust mops. Mr. Stewart.
So the district issued a request for proposals in December for dust mop service and had a deadline of early January to submit bids. We received 2 bids, one from Airmark and one from Cintas. Airmark is currently our supplier of dust mops, and Airmark's bid is the lowest best bid, and so it's therefore recommended to approve the service agreement with Airmark for the dust mops as presented.
Okay, can I get a motion, please? Chamberlain. All in favor?
Yes.
Motion passed. The next item is 5.7, second reading and adoption of the 21-22 district calendar.
Yes.
Dr. Brock.
You have 2 attachments for this item. One is the tentative 21-22 calendar that was shared at our last meeting. I've also attached the 22-23 draft calendar. That one, the 22-23, is only for information. It'll be reevaluated by the calendar committee next year, but I know some people like to start thinking way ahead, so it's there. For the 21-22 calendar, we're requesting that the board accept that for a second reading and adoption this evening.
So we'll do the first one is a motion to approve the 21-22 calendar. Can I get a motion?
Smith.
Second.
Second, Hargis. All in favor? Oh, sure. Sorry.
Before Christmas break, but it's because of the new law that says you can only start school 10 days, I think, before Labor Day. But the committee that gets together to talk about the calendar committee They wanted specifically to have the 2 weeks for Christmas, that winter holiday off, right? And they wanted to start school on Wednesday of the week.
So it's not only the committee, and the committee didn't survey this year, but they have surveyed in the past about when to start school, how long to have off, or how to structure breaks, including winter break and spring break, and when to end, like if we end before Memorial Day or if we go into June. And the results of those surveys, we've surveyed staff and parents, again, not this year, but in the past, and they've just been overwhelming that people want 2 weeks at winter break. People want to get out before June.
Mm-hmm.
They want to have a full week for spring break, even not like a Wednesday to Tuesday, but like a Saturday to Sunday, you know, the whole week and all of those things. And then the staff results have always shown that they don't want to start school on a Monday. Like the first few days of school are exhausting for everybody, for kids and for teachers especially. And so they have been in favor of starting later in the week, whether that's a Wednesday or a Thursday, just not having that very first week be a full week of school.
Okay. But isn't this the first year that we've ended first semester after Christmas, after the winter break?
It is.
Yeah. Is there any way before we prove, I guess we'll prove next year's tonight, and then the following year, 22, 23, can you send out a survey to the students and the parents and the staff to get their input?
Yes, we were, the calendar committee's actually already talked about surveying everyone next year. This year with all of, COVID and all of the surveys that have been repeatedly going out and going out and going out, we didn't want to inundate with more surveys. But yes, that's something that we had already planned on for next year.
So there's a motion that's been seconded on the floor for the 21-22 calendar. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed.
No,
Okay,
we were
I was-
only,
okay.
only the other one, the 22-23 is just information.
6.1, donations to the Fox District. Dr. Patel.
Yes, I need a motion from the board to accept donations from Merrimack Heights Church for $500 to Merrimack Heights Elementary, and then $500 to Fox High School Industrial Arts and Seckman High School Industrial Arts, from HJ Enterprises for $500 each.
Can I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Yes.
Motion passed. Next item is consent agenda. Dr. Brott, classified hires, employment modifications, stipends, substitute hires.
Yes, we are requesting the board's approval for all of those items.
Motion.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
Next item is I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Second, Ms. Chant. All in favor?